Welcome to Find Your Tribe podcast. We're broadcasting from beautiful Portland, Oregon. My name is Annie Lavender Weller. I'm a member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians and co-founder of the Leadership Lab, which is a career, academic, and transitional coaching nonprofit. I'm also a serial entrepreneur, author, and International Coaching Federation ACC certified business coach and consultant. Welcome to my podcast, Find Your Tribe. Hey, this is Annie again. Thank you for joining us at Find Your Tribe. I'm really excited to have Paul North here from Meet the Ocean to kind of educate us about what he's doing and how he found his tribe. And so one thing about Paul, it's super cool what you do. So he works as an undersea specialist with the Lindblad, I knew I was going to do that, expeditions with National Geographic. He dives from Antarctica to the Arctic, and when not on board, he hosts the Meet the Ocean podcast. Welcome to Find Your Tribe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I like to ask my guests, what does Find Your Tribe mean to you?
Yeah, I anticipated this question.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's interesting growing up how I did because not a real big family, so, I don't have a lot of heritage, so I kind of had to find it on my own. I would say, as naturalist as it sounds, that my tribe is the ocean.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Because everybody loves the ocean.
They do, but does everyone know the ocean? That's the question.
That is a question.
Yeah. I kind of willy-nilly wasn't planning on trying scuba diving, but I went to Honduras and ended up getting in the water. And that took me on a mental and a physical journey that's lasted for the last 12 years. So, yeah, my tribe is the saltwater ecosystems on our planet.
Yeah, I love the ocean. In fact, I had a voodoo priestess tell me that Yamamia, which is a voodoo saint of water, is my saint, which I thought was kind of cool because I was like, oh, you know me.
There you go.
I have to be close by the ocean. I can't be landlocked. I tried living in Denver, Colorado. Couldn't do it. Just could not do it. So tell me exactly, what do you do, though? What is what is an underwater specialist?
Yeah, it's a strange job title. Undersea specialist.
Oh, undersea specialist, sorry.
Yeah, which kind of we joke, it implies that I'm supposed to know everything that's below the waterline. And I'm trying. I am, but there's a lot out there. So we take people to the kind of postcard far-off places, Antarctica, way high in the Arctic. And while they're about doing what they do, be it a Zodiac tour or sort of an epic hike with penguins everywhere, I go scuba diving. I do it in sub-freezing temperatures. Salt water actually freezes at a lower temperature than fresh. So we're talking about 29 degrees Fahrenheit. Face freezing weather, as I like to say. But my job is to take video, and then I kind of hustle, bring it up, edit it, and present it in the same day. So I'm sort of a one-man production show to example what's going on down there.
And so who do you present this to, the video to?
To the guests on board. So depending on the size of the ship, that could be anywhere from about 60 to 150 people.
Now, are these tourists or are they educators, scientists?
I would say 90% of them are tourists, but we have staff on board who are specialized in different areas, be it birds, geology, and obviously my specialty is diving and the marine biology.
So I'm just really curious why they don't want to dive. Is it just because it's dangerous for them to dive? Because I have some friends that are divers, but they more go down to the Bahamas kind of people. They wouldn't go up north.
Yeah, they're smart. Yeah, totally. Polar diving is not something you can prepare yourself for. You can be a cold water diver. You can fill a bathtub full of ice and try and do like pain training, but that's idiotic. But when you get down there, I mean, there are things, alarm systems that we've evolved to tell us that we shouldn't be there. And sort of all of those are going off when you get in the water. I wear about 40 pounds of lead just to get under there. But as to your question, like why do I go there? Half of it is just to earn it. You know, everyone can fall off of a boat in the Bahamas, and many are very good at it. My challenge, though, is not only the location, but trying to prove people wrong. People think of Antarctica and these other places as kind of cold and bleak, gray, black, blue, but there's so much color underwater. You're talking about vibrant pinks and oranges and polka dots and stripes. It's pretty awesome.
So what about education? How did you get into this? Did you have to get an education? Did you have to go to diving school? That
is a long story that I will make short.
Okay.
I just ended up as a mariner. I graduated with an MFA in creative writing. I work in the theater. I have 2 plays published, actually. But that wasn't kind of doing it in terms of bringing in the income. So I told a white lie. I said I could cook, and I got a job in Alaska on a fishing boat. That led me to tall ships, where I volunteered doing plankton research, and that got me hooked on science. And I'm the kind of guy that if I run into it underwater, I want to know what it is, what it does, how it eats, breeds, etc.
Now, can you tell me what the difference between cold water diving and polar diving is? Because you mentioned that, and I don't. Yeah, it seems really just cold to me. So.
Yeah, for example, if you got in right here on the Oregon coast, it would be cold. Too cold to really stay in for extended periods of time. There are surfers who go with wetsuits. They come in cold. It's just part of it. You don't have that option as a cold water diver. You have to layer up, and you're wearing a dry suit which seals at the wrist and the neck. So it kind of – you're a contained air balloon down there. And in Alaska, I can still wear wet gloves, so I can still sort of feel my fingers and do more. But in Antarctica, I wear dry gloves with gloves underneath those and heating pads underneath those. And that really takes away my dexterity. So not only are you freezing, but your relationship with how you interact with the world changes. Like even operating the camera can be a bit tricky because you hit the wrong button, things change, you're not getting the video you want. But there's also the equipment that you have to manage, which kind of is in charge of keeping you alive.
Yeah. So what do you see when you're under there? I know you said a little bit about colors and stuff, but what are the things that you see that, we don't get to see?
In Antarctica, it's colder, so things have to work harder to stay to evolve into what they are. Yes, you have sea anemones, but many of them are very small, talking the size of a U.S. quarter. But there are larger things. I don't know if you've heard of a leopard seal.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Do you have any idea how big they are?
I don't. Are they bigger than the elephant seals?
Not in terms of weight. They're about the same length. They can almost get to about 12 feet. And these are the penguin destroyers.
Oh, okay.
About 2 months ago, I was diving in Antarctica, and my buddy, poked me with her GoPro stick. So I knew that something was up. So I turned, and she kind of put her hands up and said, "Hey, everything's okay." Of course, she didn't say it. It was just a hand gesture. But then she slowly pointed behind me, and I turned, and about a foot from my face was this leopard seal, huge, the kind of jaw that can fit my entire head inside of it. And it was curious. It spent 20 minutes with us. We couldn't shake it, even though we were trying. So we ended up calling the dive. But that's on the extreme end of things. That doesn't happen every day. There are cool things like sea spiders, about the size of my hand. Sea
spider. Is it a real spider, or is it like a crab kind of thing?
It's closer to – well, it's not a true arachnid. It is closer to a crab. They're arthropods. Anytime you think about what really rules the world, arthropods – you can call them insects, take up about 70% of life on Earth. We find giant isopods that are kind of nightmarish. They have these spikes on their arms, and they use them for ripping and tearing. But they're scavengers, so if say, a whale dies.
Oh, then they go and they scavenge the whale. And
that can be a meal for thousands of creatures for a number of years.
Wow. So do you run into also whales and things along that line, or is it too cold up there?
No, actually, there are humpback whales and killer whales, blue whales, and fin whales in almost all of the world's oceans. You see a lot of different killer whales in Antarctica. There's different subspecies. I mean, they look different. Their size is different. Some of them are large. The type A's have a dorsal fin as tall as me that's 6 feet.
Wow.
I've actually seen an event where they took down a minke whale calf, and it was like watching something get put through the food processor. It was pretty crazy.
So a minke whale, what's a minke whale?
A minke whale is a baleen whale, so it's just like a humpback. It has those kind of mustache plates that filter out the food. It's just a lot smaller.
Okay.
And the underside is distinctly white.
Okay, that's where it gets the name.
Yeah, sometimes we call them killer whale popcorn. Yeah.
That's kind of sad. I shouldn't be laughing.
Everything's got to eat, right?
It does. Yeah. Even us.
Yep.
Even us. So what's been the most surprising to you being in the ocean and what you do and finding your tribe, aka the ocean?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. It's not only what I see, but it's how I communicate it back to the people that I interact with. Because I was kind of suffering silently. You know, you go out to a bar in Portland with friends and you're talking about something you saw on the news, or you're talking about, you know, maybe a sports event, and all that has legitimacy, but I'm sitting there thinking like, oh man, what's happening to those snails, you know? So what has surprised me is how the ocean stays with me even when I'm not next to it. It's a constant equation running in my head because I'm trying to find solutions either to help it or to help people better understand it.
So do you feel like that's your passion? That's your job to do?
Yes, and it's easy for me to say tribe because the very island where I got my first dive certification, I still have an army of friends who have continued in marine biology who are now running the show at different places across the world. So we actually have a unit of people, and the many of them I've brought on board with Meet the Ocean because they're fiercely talented or passionate or both. So
Meet the Ocean, like to talk about that. It's a 501c3. Can you tell me a little bit about, or tell all of us a little bit about Meet the Ocean and what you want to do with it? And
yeah, absolutely.
Your mission?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Knowing the extent of the community that we have, I realized that we could present the ocean kind of, you know, you think about how conservation works, and it's about getting people's attention on certain issues, be it a lion or a starving child or whatever it is. But the thing is, it's hard just to say the ocean, right? Because it's almost – it's too broad of a concept. There's so much going on. But that's my goal, is to introduce people to the ocean that they don't know. Like, yes, maybe you know about crabs because they hit your dinner plate, but do you know that they have 2 different larval stages? Do you know that they are plankton for a period of time in their lives? There's what I want to do, and I think it's work that many naturalists in the past have picked up on, like Rachel Carson, but that's to bring a narrative story to it so people can understand it better. We have educational outreach. I visit classrooms. I just visited Reynolds High School out on 84 last week, and we do Skype sessions. But I think our main heft is the podcast and online video content where we have all sorts of photos and videos about the experiences we're having.
So if there's one thing that you could do, a snap of your fingers, and change about people's perception, or, you know, sometimes it feels like people have forgotten about the ocean because we have so many other things going on. You know, first of all, we have to change what the administration's doing, of course, with the EPA and so forth. You know, we have to start with these broad terms. But, I mean, if the ocean goes away, we definitely go away.
Yes, absolutely.
So what's like the main thing, I guess?
If there's one thing,
if you can snap your fingers.
That's good. I mean, just for all of us, both human and saltwater inhabitants, I would say we need to get rid of our reliance on fossil fuels because everyone's talking about the air temperature. No one's talking about the ocean temperature. Things are getting warmer. I'm finding Humboldt squid up in Alaska where they shouldn't be. And those squid in turn are turning into salmon killers, which those two have never met before. So ecosystems are changing, but it's not only the temperature, but it's the acidification, because you think about how the things in the ocean make their home. A sea star, a sea urchin, a crab, it's all calcium carbonate. That's a fancy way to say limestone. Mm-hmm. But when that acidification changes, and that's because of the carbon dioxide, that there's too much of it in the water currently, it actually starts to eat away at the shells of all the creatures that we know. So for all of us, be it invertebrate in the ocean or Homo sapien, I would say my once-off thing is find another way, because we don't have to continue on this path. We just need to change our minds about things.
I'm really curious, because it's something that comes up a lot, because I do work with a lot of Native American tribes with their businesses, me being a business consultant and business coach. A lot about farm-raised salmon and ocean salmon, and just, we're fishing out what we have in our oceans currently, and things are going extinct. Are you seeing those type of things when you're diving? I mean, do you see that change? Because I heard about an iceberg that just 3 days it was gone. And it's just very scary to me as somebody that loves our Mother Earth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think we would be greatly benefited by going back to having more respect for nature, as many tribes did and still do. Things are changing. It's, our brains can only take in so much information. And you think about what's highlighted in our news cycle, and it's a gluttony of politics, and then there's a little bit of celebrity, and then whatever we take the time to seek beyond that. Mm-hmm. I don't think we want to face the change that's happening because it will cause us to get out of this very comfortable mode that we've all found as modern humans. But it's a math game. We are pushing to feed numbers of people that have never existed on this planet. So we're pushing it to its limits. I always kind of shudder when I hear the word sustainable, because I want to put an asterisk on that, like how long? Even the victories that we're gaining recently, there was a marine protected area in Antarctica, and everyone's celebrating it, and they should. But it's less than a tenth of all of Antarctica, and it expires in 35 years. So we don't have that sort of reverence for the lands that we live on. We're chewing through the earth. I don't know if your audience members have heard of the new term coming out, the Anthropocene, that time when humanity has the ability to change the planet. So many scientists included are trying to push towards that terminology to start talking about the effect that we're having.
Yeah, I'm really nervous, I'll be honest, about the offshore drilling that the administration just signed. So being able to do that, I don't believe it's right. We don't need that. And that's essentially what you were saying about being dependent on fossil fuels. So one of the things that I want to ask you, though, is what about personal life? You talk a lot about the ocean, Meet the Ocean, your business. And I think a lot of us entrepreneur-type people, when we're in a crowded bar or restaurant, we're thinking about what we need to do next. I need to reach out to so-and-so and figure out how I can get this service to a client in a less expensive way. And you want to teach us about the ocean and how we can, save things. And so how has your personal life kind of, I guess, meshed with what you're doing currently?
Great question. Let me think about that.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No.
But I really like to talk about people, being entrepreneurs that we are. In a way, we have to talk about our personal life.
Yeah, and if you don't have a personal life, then why you should have a personal life. I just got engaged.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was back in November. Luckily enough, I was able to do it down in Antarctica. Sorry to keep bringing it back there.
No.
Yeah, it was a 3-week trip. It was a dream. My fiance is an artist. She's about to go back to Portland State to get a degree in education with a focus in arts and science. She'll also be working with special ed children as well. So as we grow as an educational unit, she's my wall to bounce things off of. She's my playbook manager, and she knows me well enough to sort of take me out of orbit when my ideas are going too far beyond reality.
Yes. I have an amazing husband. You know, one of the things I was talking about earlier with somebody is the fact that one day or 1 month I make $10,000, the next month I make no money. And just, you know, that juggle that you have and that partnership that you have with your significant other or your tribe. I mean, even with your friends and your family are very important.
Yeah, very much so. And the folks that are my friends, I've chosen them to join me and Meet the Ocean to maintain that tribe, maintain that friendship.
So what has been your biggest challenge? One huge challenge that you've really had, you know, a big hurdle in regards to what you're doing currently?
My biggest challenge, I think, is obviously it is a blessing to have access to these places on our planet with regularity. Like I recognize things. I can go back and say, I may have seen that penguin last year. But a challenge is we aren't admitting what's happening with enough truth or enough effective change. We have put things on the back burner, and that's this administration and others. Because even when some of these projects started, there were reports that kind of warned that, hey, guys, this might happen, and that might has become a reality. But still, we don't feel motivated, at least not in the kind of numbers that affect real change. And because I'm more or less like an ocean preacher, and I get up in front of some pretty hard-hitting folk in terms of how things work on this planet, and I have to tell them not only the scientific fact about what they're seeing on screen, but why they should care about it. So maintaining that sort of fire and positivity, because to choose despair is not an option.
So what is one thing that you would want, if you could say something to somebody, what would one thing that you'd want them to change or to do to help?
I usually begin with plastic. I say stop using single-use plastic, straws, forks and knives, even those little things, because those are ended up in places that we don't see inside like a turtle's nose, for goodness sake.
I didn't know that so plastic straws and forks and knives are plastic ones. And also plastic bags, correct? I mean, we can make it into different things, but those things aren't we can't use them again or recycle them?
Well, I just think the way –
No, I was just curious. I thought that we could recycle them into something else, but I don't think that we should be using them. But
well, they can –
as I backpedal.
backpedal. No, I mean, the reality is, you know, we're born into this. This society has been building I'm not looking to cast blame, but we have to reevaluate some things. And single-use plastic items is a good one to start, because all that does is allow for comfort and access, which helps the economy, but it doesn't help the ecology.
Okay. So any tips on finding, our listeners' tribe? Any tips?
Yeah, I think first you find yourself, and those efforts lead to finding people who you can call kin, be they real family, friends, or those who are interested in a similar activity or kind of walk of life. Know thyself, saith Socrates. It all begins from there.
Well, thank you so much.
And
I'm looking forward to you being back on so you can tell us more about your adventures. And how can people find you and Meet the Ocean? I almost forgot.
Yeah, no, thanks. No, I'd love to come back heading up to the Arctic in 2 weeks to go hopefully not swim with some polar bears. But yeah, meettheocean.org is our website. On there, you'll find our podcast, videos, blog, and so many, we're building the website in an awesome way right now, and I'm excited. So.
And if people want to come up on the boats and do something along that line, do they go through Meet the Ocean or?
No, that would be expeditions.com.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Find Your Tribe podcast is a conversation with guests addressing all aspects of what makes our businesses and personal lives unique. We will balance traditions with new methods, respecting the past while acknowledging the need to embrace new methods and technologies. Finding Your Tribe podcast uncovers the personalities behind the businesses, the leaders who paved the way, and the essential heart of what makes our tribes run. Please visit me at annieweller.com for more information.